Howdy folks, this is Fanor and thank you for spending time together with me on the internet. So for today's first video in the dating and relationships subject, I have a pair of letters actually sent to me by one of my subscribers. One of the issues is his and one is from a friend of his, and they're kind of similar, so I decided I would package them together and go for a twofer to start things off. So the first letter basically explains that they have been, they're in their early 20s now. And he's known this girl since high school. And they've been very close friends, gone through a lot together, good and bad, always enjoy their time together. And as he has gotten older, he has realized that he's developed feelings for her and is a little bit shy or anxious about actually asking her out. He says that he's afraid of the outcome and that he doesn't feel that he's handsome and that he doesn't have a lot of the qualities that he thinks most women like. And he's worried that she is going to reject him and it could damage or end their friendship. So, okay, there's a couple things in here to start. First, is the fear of rejection. The fear of rejection is something that pretty much every man has to face and overcome in their lifetime. It's going to happen to you hundreds, if not thousands of times as you date people, go through romantic relationships together. And the sooner that you can get over your fear of rejection, the better. Rejection is totally normal. It happens so often to every man. I don't care how rich or handsome you are. I bet there's, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Johnny Depp. All of these men have been rejected probably more often than they've had success, believe it or not. And that can be hard for a younger man to understand, but it is totally normal. And in my experience, the best way to get over it is just to go through it frequently. And the more you go through it, the more you'll realize that being rejected isn't really that big of a deal at all. There are a lot of people in the world, and there's nothing to be afraid of, basically. As for damaging your friendship, that is another thing that really is probably a non-issue, in my opinion. Friendships, especially friendships that are built to last, are going to be able to get over problems like this. It's extremely common for men and women who have close friendships to have one person or the other kind of catch feelings at some point in the friendship. So this is normal again, and if the friendship really is as strong as you think it is, it will be something that will last if you choose to maintain it, even if you feel a little embarrassed or even if she, shoots you down when you do ask her out. Things like that. And if the friendship doesn't maintain itself through that process, I would probably suggest that the friendship may not have been all that you thought it was in the first place. Again, that's something that's extremely common. Pretty much all women and many men have gone through that, where they, have someone that they enjoy the company of, but they aren't really interested in romantically. And as long as you're not, a jerk about it, that really shouldn't be an issue. Let me see. Another thing to keep in mind is when you worry about how good looking you are or that you don't have a lot of the qualities that you feel that women like, this is one of the fundamental differences between men and women. Men tend to be romantically attracted to people much more visually, whereas for women, it tends to be a more holistic experience. So, men are quite focused usually on what potential romantic partners look like, but women are more concerned about different things. They might be thinking about security. If you're talking about marriage or a serious relationship, she's thinking, is he going to be able to provide for me? Is he going to be able to protect me? Is he going to be loyal and remain there if we start a family together? Those sorts of things. I'd also suggest to look around and take a look at some of the men who are not traditionally physically attractive, but who are with very attractive partners. Because I know plenty of guys who are not necessarily good looking, but they're, super funny. They have a lot of charisma, stuff like that. Or, they're talented. Think musicians, for example. There's tons of musicians or artists out there who aren't necessarily the most attractive looking men, but still have very attractive partners because the woman is attracted to different qualities than the man is. One other thing to keep in mind is that you're also very young. When you're in your teens and early and mid-20s, women really tend to have the upper hand in relationships because they are at the peak of their value as a romantic partner. They're looking the best in their lives that they will ever look. Men of all ages are attracted to women in their age cohort, stuff like that. But you as a man in his early 20s haven't really had the time or the experience to build up the rest of your life into something that women find attractive. There's an old saying, it's kind of mean to the ladies, but there is more than a grain of truth to it, and that is that men age like wine and women age like milk. Basically what this means is as you mature as a man, as you build your career, as you build your value, as you save money, accumulate property, become more educated, become more confident in interacting with the world around you, all of these things add to your attractiveness as far as how women perceive you. And when you're 20 to 25, you just haven't had the time to build a lot of those qualities just yet. And this may not be the advice that you want to hear right now with this particular girl, but men typically, find it easier to date and secure high quality partners as they get a little bit older. When you're in your 30s and you've been employed for 5 or 10 years, you're on your way to building a career, you maybe have accumulated some property, you've got plenty of spending cash now, and you're not some struggling college student that can barely afford to take a girl out to dinner. All of those sorts of things, they do matter. So in general, pretty much all men can do very well by focusing on building themselves up as an individual. And if you build yourself up, the attraction of women will come organically with time. Back to this specific girl, one other thing I wanted to mention, I forgot to do so earlier, is you say that you're afraid that she'll reject you. And we did talk a little bit about rejection, but when I think back in my life, on dating and relationships anyway, the things that I regret most are chances that I never took. I was kind of shy when I was younger. I remember being in high school, being in college, and although I did fairly well with the ladies at that age, there were always, times when I found myself too shy to ask someone out, or I kind of talked myself out of it, figuring, well, I don't have a chance with so-and-so anyway. And those are the sorts of things that actually will cause you way more regret as you do grow older and come into your own in terms of confidence as a man. I don't have those regrets anymore because if I find a woman attractive, I am open and honest with her. I express that very early on in our interactions. And if she feels the same way, great, I've got a date. And if she doesn't feel the same way, also great. I really, appreciate that she didn't waste my time. So it's kind of a win-win for you, believe it or not, if you just go ahead and talk to her about it. See where she's at. You might be surprised because, especially for younger men, understanding what women are thinking and feeling can be difficult. So you might be surprised. She's friends with you for such a long time for a reason. Whether or not that's potential romantic interest, that's a little bit up in the air, but it doesn't hurt to ask. And I don't think as long as you behave honestly and openly about it, that it would really have any chance of damaging a friendship. One other thing that I'd like to say about male and female friendships moving forward is that you do have to be careful as a man that you are not being taken advantage of by women that have put you in the so-called friend zone. And this again is because men and women tend to want different things from their romantic partners. Men tend to be focused on, the visual aspects, their looks. They tend to be focused on the physical aspects of being with someone. For women, it's a little different, and a lot of them just like the attention. They like, people paying attention to them, people expending emotional energy on them, people doing things for them. It's not entirely uncommon for women to be friends with guys who they know have a romantic interest in them. Their feelings are not returned. The woman doesn't like the man, but they still like to keep him around in their lives because he's useful to them for some reason. Maybe he foots the bill frequently when they go out. Maybe, he's always available to help her move. Women always appreciate a guy who comes over and helps them move their furniture when they're changing apartments. And maintaining a friendship with this girl is perfectly fine, as long as you don't let yourself be used. So if you do ask her out and she is not interested, treat her the same way that you would treat any of your other friends. Don't let her take advantage of you, your time, your resources, your energy, any of that. So as long as she is respectful of you in that way, and you are respectful in terms of not trying to push something onto her that she's not interested in, there really shouldn't be a problem maintaining the friendship. And I think that is about it for your issue. So I will move on to briefly discussing your friend's issue here. Friend is in a little bit of a different situation than the first gentleman. He met the girl he is interested in at church, and they have become good friends and have a good relationship with each other, and he has decided to formally court her. And this gentleman comes from a country where courtship is not necessarily a formalized process of any sort, but it definitely is a thing. It's a non-Western country. That's all I'll say about his location. And I did a little bit of reading up on the subject, and apparently, singing love songs to someone outside their window at night, getting the respective families involved in the process, these are all elements of courtship in the country this gentleman hails from. He wants to take the relationship to the next level, and he has been courting her for almost a year now, but he is repeatedly getting the feeling that she just isn't into it the same way he is, and is, kind of waiting or hoping for him to kind of give up on the courtship. This has been going on for about a year, like I said, and he is reluctant to stop the courtship because he thinks that something good might happen. So a lot of the stuff that I said for the first gentleman also applies to this situation, and there are a couple other things that I would add. The first thing I would like to say is that if a woman is into you, she makes the whole process very, very easy. So if you're constantly feeling that, this is a struggle, like she doesn't return my calls on time, she's never available to hang out, any sort of issues like this are big red flags for a man, because they indicate that she is not as attracted to you as you are to her. Another thing I would say is trust your instincts. So you do say you have this kind of ominous feeling like she is not that into you. Well, you might have that feeling because that is, in fact, the case. Women often will try to communicate very subtly with men, dropping hints, using innuendo, not really coming right out and honestly telling you what they think and feel. And It can be hard for men to pick up on this style of communication because when men interact with men, it's a much simpler process. Think of how you have a discussion with a friend of yours, or even a disagreement, let's say, with a male friend. You might go up to him and you might say, "Hey, man, it bothers me when you're acting this way over, whatever." And he'll say, "Oh, what do you mean? I wasn't trying to do that. I thought I was making jokes." And 30 seconds, a minute, and you guys can talk through the issue, both have an understanding of where each other is coming from, and the situation is resolved. Whereas women tend to be a little more anti-confrontational, and so like to communicate via hints and all of this other stuff. And to other women, that sort of stuff is very easy to pick up on. But it's much harder when you're going woman to man for men to be able to grasp those sorts of things. So just like with the first gentleman, I would suggest you talk with her about it. You're already a year into the courtship process, so I understand that you have some time and feelings invested here. But again, if she's not making it an easy process for you, there's a reason for that. Because when a woman does like a man, everything is easy. If she is really into you, she will, respond very quickly when you try to communicate with her. She will suggest things that she would like to do together with you. If she's upset, she'll let you know exactly why and not beat around the bush or play games about it. So basically, if you're finding developing the relationship with this girl hard, that's probably a red flag. It doesn't necessarily have to be. The second guy is young too. He is personal friends with the first guy, so I assume they're both, about the same age, early 20s. So may not be the case, but definitely some red flags that I would talk to her about and see how it goes. And again, if the courtship doesn't last, you actually should appreciate her for not wasting any more of your time and letting you move on to someone who is more interested in you. And when someone is interested in you, like we've talked about for a few minutes now, the process is very easy. She's not going to be throwing up roadblocks. She's not going to be playing games with you. She's going to make it as easy as possible. So I think that is about it. I hit all the details I wanted to. I hope this advice helps both of you guys, and please let me know how it goes. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you enjoyed the content, please like, comment, and subscribe if you're so inclined. Hope to see you again on my channel in the future, and that everyone has a wonderful week. Take care.